2024 Hyundai IONIQ 6 Review. Pros: impressive range and quick charging speeds. Comfortable and well-built interior. Speedy acceleration from all-wheel drive models. Generous standard features list. Cons: tight rear headroom. Can be hard to see out of the back. What's new? No changes for 2024. Part of the first IONIQ 6 generation introduced for 2023. Overview. For years, industry insiders have been saying the sedan is dead as crossovers became the dominant automotive lifeform. Hyundai would beg to differ, adapting the electric foundation of its acclaimed IONIQ 5S, a crossover into a sleek sedan body that brings even more range from the same battery pack and electric motors. On the Edmunds EV range test, a dual-motor IONIQ 6 went an impressive 303 miles on a single charge, beating its EPA estimate of 270 miles. Also, a single-motor IONIQ 6 with a bigger battery has an EPA estimated range of 361 miles, and we would assume that it'd have a similar increase on our real-world range test. Edmunds spotlights speedy charging speeds. DC fast chargers, the fire hoses of the charging world, provide an output flow of between 50 to 350 kilowatts. Not all EVs can take advantage of the most powerful chargers, but the IONIQ 6 can. Hyundai says you can recharge the battery from 10% to 80% capacity in a very quick 18 minutes at an appropriate fast charging station under ideal conditions. We independently verified the IONIQ 6's fast charging performance as well. Based on our test results, this EV is one of the quickest charging EVs you can buy. The quicker an EV can charge, the quicker you can get back on the road. Check out Edmunds EV range test and EV charging test pages for all of our EV test results. Competitors to consider. The IONIQ 6 is the rare electric sedan from a mainstream brand, and if you really want to get technical and separate sedans with trunks from electric cars with hatchbacks, it's rarer still. It might be surprising to see a Hyundai mentioned alongside the BMW i4 and Tesla Model 3. But what's truly shocking is how well it stacks up against them. Read our expert rating below to find out what makes the IONIQ 6 stand out. Edmunds expert rating. How does the IONIQ 6 drive? The IONIQ 6 provides a wonderful overall drive experience. On our test track, a dual-motor all-wheel drive limited model sprinted from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.6 seconds. That's a bit slower than a comparable Tesla Model 3, but still plenty quick. Acceleration is smooth and progressive. We also like how the IONIQ 6 is impressively grippy and stable going around turns. You'll have a lot of fun driving it on a twisty road. The IONIQ 6 is also very stable under hard braking and has a nicely managed transition between its regenerative and physical brakes. It's easy to slow down smoothly whether coasting to a stop or using the brake pedal. How comfortable is the IONIQ 6? Fantastic ride quality makes for a comfortable ride for all passengers. The suspension is pliant enough to glide over road imperfections and rough pavement, but never feels floaty or disconnected from the car. It's the best of both worlds. This also helps the cabin to stay very quiet. At highway speeds there's a bit of wind noise, but other than that things stay rather serene. We're less enthusiastic about the front seats. They're adequately comfortable, but some drivers might wish for additional lumbar and thigh support. In back, the floor is a little high, so adults might find the back of their legs coming off the cushions a bit. And the middle seat is probably not best used for longer than an hour or two, or you'll get some complaints. We found the IONIQ 6 can heat or cool its cabin pretty quickly. Having optional ventilated front seats is nice, too. The controls for the heated and ventilated seats are in the touchscreen. As such, operating them can be a bit distracting compared to using physical buttons. How's the interior? Hyundai has slimmed out the IONIQ 6 doors in the front, and all of the controls that you'd traditionally find there, windows, locks, mirror adjustments, have been moved to other places. The placement takes some getting used to, but we think most owners will get it down in a few weeks. The IONIQ 6's sharply sloping roofline means you have to lean down a bit to enter the back seat. But the door openings are wide, so it's still pretty easy to get in unless you're very tall. Legroom is fantastic even for those well into the 6-foot range, but those same passengers will find the rear headroom to be pretty tight. The bridge-like center console between the front seats is pretty thick and takes up some of the knee room for the driver. Limited rear visibility because of the small rear window and thick roof pillars is another minor issue. How's the tech? Hyundai's multimedia system is enjoyable to use. Nothing feels more than a couple presses of the screen away, and the menu structure is intuitive. But there are a few things about the system that are a bit annoying, starting with a lack of wireless smartphone connectivity. Yes, there is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but you'll have to plug in to get them. Also, you'll have to do so using a USB-A port, so you lose out on the quicker charging from the USB-C ports spread throughout the cabin. It's also hard to use the native navigation system to find a suitable charging station along a route. Searching for stations pulls them up in a list format sorted by distance, but you can't tell which station is closest along your route, only which one is closest to you. It's better to use your phone to find a charging station via Google Maps or a third-party app. But the other problem is that the battery's preconditioning, which readies the battery for faster charging, is tied to inputting a charging station into the native navigation. You can't do it manually. This poor user experience needs improvement. Fortunately, the IONIQ 6's safety features work much more seamlessly. It comes with Highway Driving Assist 2 on the top 2 trim levels, which allows for automatic lane changes while on the highway and works down to a stop. The system does a good job of keeping the car centered in the lane and slowing down and accelerating smoothly. How's the storage? Based only on the spec sheet, the IONIQ 6 should be in trouble here with only 11.2 cubic feet of room in its trunk. For comparison, a Honda Civic has 14.8 cubic feet and the Tesla Model 3 has 19.8 cubes of trunk space. But when we performed a luggage test, both the IONIQ 6 and Model 3 fit about the same amount. There is no underfloor storage like you'll get in the Tesla, and the trunk isn't very wide, though it is deep. Inside, there is a large storage bin between the front seats that's big enough to fit a small bag or purse, and plenty of small nooks on the doors and up by the wireless charging pad to fit smaller items. For car seats, the IONIQ 6's plentiful rear legroom makes it easy to maneuver in the space and get a seat oriented properly, but the latch anchors can be tough to access. How are the range and efficiency? We tested a dual-motor IONIQ 6 in the limited trim. The EPA estimates this version can go 270 miles on a full charge. On the Edmunds EV range test, the IONIQ 6 exceeded that estimate, covering 303 miles. This does put the IONIQ 6 behind the Model 3 long range, which covered 341 miles in our latest range test for that model, but it's still an impressive showing for the Hyundai. Also, a single-motor IONIQ 6 with the bigger battery has an EPA estimated range of 361 miles, and we would assume that it'd have a similar increase on our real-world range test. Part of the IONIQ 6's long range comes from its efficient use of electricity. In our testing, it used 27.5 kilowatt-hours per 100 miles of driving, coming in below the estimated 33 kilowatt-hours, 100 miles. When you're putting energy back in instead of using it, the IONIQ 6 is compatible with the most powerful 350 kilowatts DC fast charging stations. Hyundai says this allows you to charge from 10% to 80% battery in just 18 minutes in ideal conditions, of course. We've also verified Hyundai's claims. Based on our efficiency results, the IONIQ 6 is one of the quickest charging EVs you can buy. Is the IONIQ 6 a good value? There's good value here, even though the IONIQ 6's price tag does feel high. It's priced at the same level as the IONIQ 5, but you get a lot less utility out of the sedan body than the SUV. But the build quality of the cabin is on the higher end for a non-luxury vehicle, and the materials feel nice to the touch, though there's a lot of plastic, especially on the doors. Hyundai also offers the same robust warranty on its EVs as it does its gas vehicles: 10 years, 100,000 miles for the battery and powertrain, 5 years, 60,000 miles of basic coverage, and 3 years, 36,000 miles of free maintenance. The IONIQ 6 also offers 2 free years of 30-minute charging sessions at Electrify America fast charging stations, so you can fill up for free while on the go. The IONIQ 6 has a funky, head-turning style that will be polarizing. But what can't be denied is how fun it is from behind the wheel. Acceleration, handling, braking, ride quality and sportiness from the powertrain are all finely tuned. Its low center of gravity gives the sedan exceptional balance. Sometimes sedans just want to have fun. Which IONIQ 6 does Edmunds recommend? If you can spare some range, the SEL opens up additional color choices and includes Hyundai's Highway Driving Assist 2 as standard equipment. If your EV isn't capable of hands-free highway driving, are you really even driving the future? Hyundai IONIQ 6 models. Hyundai offers the 2024 IONIQ 6 in 4 trim levels: SE Standard Range, SE, SEL and Limited. The SE Standard Range is the value leader, with a 53 kWh battery pack and a single motor 149 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque driving the rear wheels. The EPA estimates its range at 240 miles. The rest of the lineup has a 77.4 kWh battery pack and more powerful motors. Keep reading for our full rundown of the IONIQ 6 range and features.